All right, today we are diving into something that is, and I don't say this lightly, genuinely revolutionary in the world of AI. We're going to explore a massive shift in thinking. I'm talking about moving from an AI that just guesses what might be true to one that can actually prove it. This isn't just some small upgrade, you know? It's like discovering a whole new physics, a physics of meaning itself.
So let's kick things off with a problem that I'm pretty sure we've all run into. You ask one of these super advanced AIs a question, and what do you get? A beautiful, confident, incredibly well-written answer that is completely and utterly wrong, right? We call them hallucinations, but they're not just some funny little quirk. Nope, they're a flashing red light, a symptom of a really deep problem, right at the heart of how we build AI today.
Okay, here's a great way to think about it. Imagine a large language model is like a GPS system, but with a huge catch. It has no satellites. It's studied millions and millions of maps, right? It's seen every trip ever taken, so it is fantastic at predicting a route that sounds plausible. But, and this is the key, it has absolutely no way to check its actual real-world position, so it can confidently, beautifully tell you to drive straight into a lake. It's stuck in this closed loop, completely cut off from reality. It's predicting, but it's not knowing.
So how in the world did we build a GPS that can't actually see the road? Well, to figure that out, we've got to dig into the very foundation of how these systems understand meaning and why that foundation has them completely trapped.
The problem is, we've fallen into what some are calling a Ptolemaic trap, and it's a fantastic analogy. You know, back in the day, astronomers were convinced the Earth was the center of the universe, and when their observations didn't quite line up, did they question that core belief? Nope. They just added more and more layers of complexity, these things called epicycles, to make the broken model work. And well, that's exactly what we're doing with AI. Instead of fixing the fundamentally flawed foundation, we're just piling on more data, more compute, more complexity. We're just adding our own digital epicycles. So here it is, the fundamental flaw. Current AI is what's called dyadic. It's really good at connecting a code, say the word falcon, to a concept, which is this big cloud of ideas and data about falcons. But that's just 2 points. It's a straight line. True meaning, the way we understand the world, is triadic. It needs a third point to make a triangle. And that third point is the thing itself, the actual physical falcon out there in the real world. Without that direct tether to reality, the whole idea of meaning just, well, it falls apart.
Okay, so if the path we're on is basically a dead end, where do we turn? Well, it turns out the answer has been staring us in the face for a very long time. Nature figured this all out about 500 million years ago. It created a blueprint for intelligence that's not just smart, but brutally efficient and, most importantly, completely grounded in reality.
I mean, just look at this. A peregrine falcon, diving at over 200 miles an hour. It simply cannot afford to guess where its prey is. It can't hallucinate. If it doesn't eat. Or worse, it crashes. So what does it do? It doesn't guess. It verifies. It's running this constant feedback loop, measuring its position against the real world 100 times a second. And get this, it's doing all this insane, high-stakes computation, using about the same power as a dim light bulb. The point is, nature solved the hallucination problem a long time ago.
And to really get this, we have to totally rethink what intelligence even means. The old way of thinking, the current AI paradigm, sees intelligence as hoarding. It's a static thing, like a giant library you fill with books. But nature? Nature shows us something completely different. A new paradigm where intelligence isn't something you have, it's something you do. It's a dynamic process, a constant flow. It's all about navigating towards the truth by closing that gap between your map and the actual territory.
And this all leads to a brand new equation for intelligence. Now don't worry, we're not going to get bogged down in the math here, but the idea behind it is incredibly powerful. It says that intelligence isn't about how much stuff you know, how big your database is. It's about the verified speed at which you can close the gap between yourself and reality. And here's the mind-blowing part. If a system has no way to measure that gap, if it can't connect to reality, then according to this equation, its intelligence is zero. It's just a fancy predictor.
Okay, so the blueprint from nature is clear. The principles make sense, but how do you actually build an AI that works like this? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of the technical design. So to get a handle on this new architecture, let's use another computer analogy. Right now, AI has the IP address. It gets the general logical idea of a thing, like, the concept of falcon. But what it's missing is the MAC address, that unique, physical, one-of-a-kind identifier for a specific thing, like this falcon, right here, right now. This new system is all about building the bridge that finally connects the two.
And the fundamental building block for this whole system is something called a tokum. So what is it? Think of it as a frozen, secure little package of meaning. It's got two parts. First, you have the general concept, the IP address, like the idea of a falcon. But then, and this is the game changer, it has a second part, a verified specific measurement from the real world, locked down with a timestamp and its source, the MAC address. So a tokum isn't a guess based on probability. It's a cryptographic proof that something real actually happened.
All right, so how does the system stay connected to reality and not just drift off into its own imagination? Through a really cool process they call topological puncture. It's basically a way to constantly poke holes in the AI's closed loop and inject these verified truths, these tokums, right back into its awareness. This creates that constant feedback loop, the one that forces it to measure the world instead of just making stuff up about it. The satellite connection is back online.
So we have an AI that's always checking in with the real world. This isn't just a minor fix. This unlocks a whole new universe of possibilities. It's like a brand new physics for how meaning works.
Okay, and this is where things get really cool. When you start connecting all these verified truths, these tokums, they create something that acts like a gravity for meaning. Seriously, just like how a planet's mass warps space-time, a verified fact warps the space of ideas. Truths that are related get pulled together naturally. And, just as important, things that are false, hallucinations, get actively pushed away. Truth literally starts to organize itself.
And because the system can actually feel this gravity of truth, it gets a superpower that current AIs just don't have. The power to say, I don't know. Think about that. If the evidence is shaky, if that gravitational pull of truth just isn't strong enough, the system does something called an active refusal. It just stops. It doesn't make something up. It asks for more data from the real world. For AI safety and just basic reliability, this is a total game changer.
This connection to reality also lets the AI make this massive leap from just seeing correlation to actually understanding causation. A normal AI is a master of correlation, right? It knows fire and smoke show up together a lot. But a grounded AI can follow the chain of verified events. It can understand that lighting the fire causes the smoke, and the smoke causes the alarm to go off. It can actually reason about cause and effect. It's a huge difference.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. What does this new foundation for intelligence really get us? It's nothing less than a complete shift from a system that guesses to one that actually knows.
And on top of everything else, this new foundation is unbelievably efficient. Current AI uses a method that's like trying to find one specific thread in a giant tangled ball of yarn in the dark. It's messy. This new architecture, though, enables something called sparse retrieval. It's more like looking at a clean constellation of stars. You have a perfect map that points you to the exact piece of information you need, instantly. You stop searching and you start finding.
And what does that efficiency translate to in the real world? How about a potential 100,000 times reduction in energy use? Let that sink in. 100,000. This isn't just about building a smarter AI. It's about making intelligence sustainable, making it accessible in a way that's just, it's not even in the same ballpark as what we're doing today.
So, when you boil it all down, the whole paradigm is shifting under our feet. We're moving away from an AI that just predicts what might be true, and we're stepping into a world where we can build an AI that measures what is true. We're building systems that are no longer just a distorted mirror of our world, but are actually plugged right into it. And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. An AI that's grounded in verified reality can't hallucinate. And if an AI can't hallucinate, that means, by its very nature, it is physically incapable of lying. So what becomes possible? What does our world look like when, for the first time, we can build our information systems on a foundation of absolute, verifiable truth?